Yes, good evening. I welcome you to our talk on Myanmar tonight, our Asiatalk, talking about a revolution. My name is Sven Hansen. I'm the Asia desk editor at taz, and I'm your host tonight. And with this talk, I want to invite you for a closer look at the resistance movement in Myanmar. And as you might know, on Saturday is the 4th anniversary of the military coup. As not all of you might be familiar with Myanmar, I have prepared a map, which we please show now. Peter, here you see the map. So because in the discussion maybe some geographic expressions might be used, so you get an idea about the geographics of Myanmar. For the military, and I think especially for the coup leader Min Aung Hlaing, the developments since 2021, since the coup, have been, I think, quite unexpected and quite an unpleasant surprise. It was relatively easy for the military to separate then de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi from power and put many of her officials from the party and the government in jail. But instead of getting the country under control since then, the coup turned into the starting point of an unarmed anti-dictatorial mass movement. So it was really the spark for it. It was very impressive mass movement of hundreds of thousands of people nearly every day somewhere on the streets in Myanmar. Then the military, you might be aware of that, the military started shooting the protesters, killed more and more people, and this boosted an armed resistance, not only of the ethnic armed organizations, which have been, some of which have been struggling already for several decades, but also this military repression led to the founding of more and more of the so-called People's Defense Forces, meaning a kind of local anti-dictatorial militias. They have now formed alliances with these older ethnic armed organizations. And now we have a kind of full-fledged revolutionary movement in Myanmar, and it's called or nicknamed the Spring Revolution. At the same time, we have to say that the country is now in a kind of state of civil war, and according to the United Nations, about 3.5 million people have been displaced. According to human rights organizations, about 6,215 civilians got killed, and in addition to that, an unknown number of guerrilla fighters and soldiers. In the meantime, the military has lost more than the control of more than half of the country, as you can see in the following map. Please, the next map, please. To be honest, this map is maybe a bit complicated. It has basically three different colors. So the dark green is the area the regime has under control. The yellow, red striped areas are the areas under control of the resistance. But these are several groups, very complicated. So we could not put them into this map because otherwise then you won't understand the map anymore. And the light yellow are the disputed areas. This map is from the BBC. I mean, we made it ourselves at taz, but it is the basics are from the BBC research from November last year. So this gives you an idea, and you see that the heartland in the middle, more or less, is controlled by the regime, and the border areas are more or less controlled by the resistance. Yeah, we now want to have a closer look both at the unarmed and the armed resistance. How can you explain its success? What are the strengths and weaknesses? How is the international setting? And what options are left for the regime, and what might be the scenarios for the future? For our discussion now, please let me introduce our two distinguished guests from Myanmar, who who were both forced into exile here in Berlin. Next to me is Thida. She is one of Myanmar's leading public intellectuals. As a medical doctor, she had worked as a surgeon in a Muslim hospital which offered free services. She has always been an author and a novelist, and still is. And she has been a political and human rights activist and a Buddhist. In 1993, she was sentenced for 20 years in prison. There she got very sick and was released after 6 years in 1999 due to international pressure. She went to the US to study and kept writing. In 2013, Thida founded PEN Myanmar and was its president until 2016, and then she became a board member of PEN International from 2016 to 19. And since 21, she is the chairwoman of PEN International Writers in Prison Committee. So if you happen to write a book and get into jail, she might help you. Yeah. And since 2022, Thida is living in Berlin. Our second guest, Kyaw, he is a journalist. He was editor-in-chief of the newspaper The Voice. And he was the first secretary, first he was secretary and later a member of the Myanmar Press Council, both until the coup. He has spent already 2 months in jail under the former government of Aung San Suu Kyi due to the pressure of the military. The reason for that, he was in charge of a satirical article about the military, and the military didn't like it. Again, he had been jailed in April 2023, so about 2 years after the coup, and he had turned his Facebook profile photo into a black square. For this, he was put in jail because that was understood and of course also meant as a protest against a bombing of a revolutionary village where at least about 100 people or even more got killed. There's a paragraph in Myanmar law or junta law that says if you express hostility towards the armed forces, this can be punishable by 3 years in prison. Kyaw was mentally tortured and spent 3 months in jail, 2 of them in chains. And after his release, he and his family managed to flee to Thailand. And since last summer, they live here in Berlin. So please give a warm welcome to our guests. I want to structure our discussion in 5 parts. So the first will be the development of the resistance since the coup. The second, the structure of the resistance, which about its strengths and weaknesses. Then, what options does the regime have will be number 3. The fourth part will be the international setting and the international reactions to the coup and to the resistance. And the final 5th part will be the scenarios for the future. The idea is we will discuss here for about 60 minutes. And then we open the floor for your questions, for those here in the hall, and of course also for those watching online. The onliners can already in between send their comments via the chat function. Yeah, I have a screen here so I can read it. And yeah, feel free to make comments and raise questions. I will start now with the developments of the resistance since the coup, and I want to start with Thida. How do you see the political dynamic of the revolutionary movement since the coup? Do you find the expression Spring Revolution accurate?
Well, yeah, I normally say, we were in a big maze because we were on the road to democracy, but especially after the 2011, according to the 2008 Constitution, it's very difficult to move on the right track. So we thought we have election, we have some sort of the quasi-civilian government, and we thought it was already been on the road to democracy, but it was not. It was like we were kept in a big maze, and some people thought it's already having some freedom, but it was not. So after the coup, people make sense and understood, oh, we were all locked up. That's why the Spring Revolution is the kind of the movement to tearing down the walls of this maze. People started understanding about what are the walls of this maze. You know, from the very beginning is 2008 Constitution, and then the other facts. People started to understand the big challenge for us is this military dictatorship. So Spring Revolution targeted not just to targeting the military to give up the power, but also to build the more diverse, more better society. For that reason, it seems like the Spring Revolution has multi-targeted destination, something like that, because we do have so many different ethnic groups, and each and every ethnic groups having their own dream, and then they want to take opportunity as the current situation to change their future, not just to against the military dictatorship, but also to build up for their future through this revolution. So it sounded like Spring Revolution is very, not very well focused, but it's much more concise compared to the 1988 protests, the revolution. Because in 1988, people just thinking about democracy as the destination. Right now, people think beyond it, more practical, realistic dream has come through, but still some of the parts of the Spring Revolutions are still in the dream and still at the corner, the kind of the corner of this very big maze. But most part of the Spring Revolution is trying to tearing down all the walls of this maze. So that's I can say.
Okay, if I understand correctly, you said in the first place there was no revolution, but the hope for reforms, and only after that was shattered by the government, by the military. Then revolution was the more or less only way.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, Kyaw, nowadays when you read newspapers, mostly they focus on the armed struggle. As I said before, after the coup, first there was a very strong civilian mass movement, anti-dictatorial mass movement, so there was no armed struggle. What happened to this civilian mass movement? That was very impressive, the so-called civil disobedient movement. So people went really on mass strikes. Are these things still happening? Are they possible at all? I mean, in a junta-controlled area, can you demonstrate there? Or how is civilian resistance possible? Is it?
Yes, the civilian movement is the most significant, against the military, because it's a long time under military regime, but so-called during as Thida said that only a short period under so-called civilian government. So, and that period, the especially a government, so governance and administration and every administration staff and department, so they are under control and pressure a lot. So they are, especially they are misused by the military government the whole time. And also, after the coup, they realize they should do something against the military, because they also have some trauma because of the military government. Because military government, the all administration and bureaucracy mechanism has the control by appointee from military. So they have some conflict so far. That's why they also participated in this and this movement. Not only the government sector, but also the other social and the semi-government organization and also CSOs. So also myself. So I worked at the press council, secretary of the press council, but press council is mandated by the president according to the law. But we also make civil movement ourselves.
Yeah, but that was the time immediately after the coup and around the coup. But I mean, you were put in jail because you had a black portrait photo on Facebook. So, I mean, that looks like a very minor, how to say, it's a small step. And nevertheless, you were punished harshly. So, is there space? Would you do it today again, or would you advise people to have set up a black photo on Facebook?
Yes, actually the black photo is not only against the coup, but it's against to the brutal crackdown, the killing people. That's how we present it. So we are same together with the victims of the dictatorships and the coup. We disagree the coup.
Yeah, but does this happen today from people inside Myanmar, or would you just say no? That's too risky.
Hard to do for the time being, because the government, everybody, for example, to go outside, their mobile phone will be checked by the security guard. If they see something, for example, if there's VPN, because yes, they control every the website to use, and so even on Facebook they can check. If somehow they see the people who supported to the opposition or democracy movement or revolution, so he will be arrested. And if even in VPN, the person who's using the VPN, he will be arrested by current existing the telecommunication law.
You understand what VPN is? Yeah. So yeah. Okay. You want to say something?
Yeah. So that's not just as black, but everybody can will be arrested.
Yes. So that basically means there's no way or no chance to. But first, maybe you say.
Chance.
No. I just want to add about the important part of the civil disobedience movement. Compared to 1988, there was also the civil servants decided to do that civil disobedience movement, but without enough space or chances, the duration of their CDM has stopped. But here, after 2021, the civil disobedience movement keep going on. And they also, most of the civil servants who did CDM, they didn't stop their public services through other platforms, through the National Unity Government, through the other social and the civil society group platforms. They serving their service still, especially for the education and the health. So for that reason, this one is more on the revolution side. There is no just the oppression. And also, I just want to add something. Even though there is so much pressure, people try to express, not just through changing the photo, but also in other ways. People try to express their so much dissident spirits through the other platforms. So there is still, movement is still. That's why we just say, even though people thought the current revolution is more on the armed revolution, but it is purely a hybrid revolution, and it still keep going on in the peaceful way.
Okay, you touched already the armed revolution, and I mean, you're an intellectual and not a guerrilla fighter, but nevertheless, from outside, how you analyze the success of the armed resistance? Why are they relatively successful and not being defeated, as many people had thought that they won't last long because they don't get weapons from outside the country, they don't have a unified command? So how you explain the relatively strength of the guerrilla movement?
Yeah, the most important part of winning the armed revolution is because of the will of the people. You know, people were very supportive for any revolution form, but especially for the armed revolution form, with their willingness to share any information leak out from the army or whatever they notice, the deployment of the military base or any kind of the activities done by military. It has been informed and leaked to the revolution sites for the armed protesters, but from the military side, there is no way. Only that there is also, you know, because even some part of the military, they notice about this very not very true way of gripping the power, something like that. So there are a couple of the military servants becoming the informers for the protesters too. So for that reasons, even though there is a very long fight by some ethnic armed forces, they never ever gained this kind of momentum. On top of that, I think because of the long fight in the past, some of the ethnic armed forces already have their own weaponry kind of the industry. Is mainly in the border, especially in China border, and you know, China is behind everyone, so they can easily...
We will focus on China later, yeah.
They can easily get some kind of the accessory equipments to having... And then, since they winning a lot of the military bases, they can have all the weaponries, artilleries, done, but from the military regime by their own. So without having a proper official way of the armed supports from any other country, the ethnic armed forces are now winning the fight.
Okay, we keep the first part here, and now we go on to the second part, the structure of the resistance, the strengths and weaknesses, and we want to focus on the underground shadow government. Politicians mostly close to the former government of Aung San Suu Kyi and her National League for Democracy, they have formed an underground government called the National Unity Government, or in the acronym soup of Myanmar called the NUG. Kyaw, how you see this government? How big is its influence? How effective is it? What has it achieved so far? Or has it achieved anything?
Yes. In terms of the very conventional thinking way of the Myanmar politics, so people are so much relying on the personal and, you know, loyalty and love and hate. So it's very polarized feeling in terms of the long time under military regime. So people, you know, supported a lot to the NLD. But the other side, the ethnic armed groups have different opinion. You're looking at the NLD. It's different.
NLD is the National League for Democracy.
National League for Democracy. So some people and some ethnic groups are looking at to the NUG as somehow, you know, the brother of the sister organized, you know, government or shadow government of the NLD. So that is not really true, but so the ethnic armed groups are looking at like that. So but that's why NUG has not very good, willingly cooperation from the ethnic armed group in the first, after the coup. Yes. So that's the old, conventional way of the political, thinking process in Myanmar. So that's why national unity government they face a lot of challenges. So to get the cooperation from the ethnic armed groups. So, but the related with the first question, so political dynamic. So people realize, so the country need to, accept other, feeling or other situation in the different parts of the country. And in the past, they don't realize it. So that's related with but NUG, even though NUG realize, but some of the party, the NUG members are, some former NLD, National League for Democracy parties, and some are sympathizer of the NLD party. So that's why a little bit difficult to organize, to get the synergy from the ethnic armed organizations.
Yeah, so the national unity government is not a real unity government.
Yes,
or
yes,
not
but
regarded
yes,
as that, and
yes, but
it's still relatively weak. Is that right?
I mean, the first after the coup, but now they have already realized. So that's why they try hard, to get understanding each other, to get the cooperation with it. That's why I think I think this year. They have some agreement with the ethnic armed groups already. So that's why recently the president of the NUG government he gave the speech to the public. So in 2015 we were faced a very turning point. So I think that's me. He have some they have some secret dealing or agreement with the ethnic armed organizations.
So you see some dynamic.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I want to say there is no signs of disunity inside the NUG. Only the impression for NUG by the other people seems like it's not well formally, unitedly formed. But I think from the very beginning, only less than 32% of the members of the national unity governments are the people from NLD, something like that. But people thinking, even for the running president, he himself is never been the NLD person, a Kachin guy, and most of the members of NUG has been nominated and kind of proposed by the ethnic groups. Even some ethnic groups. But the problem here is, none of the ethnic armed forces are willing to say we already have some agreements and this government has been formed. Because they also, from the very beginning, before the 1027 operation, is the 2023 October 27 operations. Before that, there is a very, very dilemma period. Then some of the ethnic armed forces, in my views, they are still in very big dilemma. Whether the Spring Revolution is winning or not, if the Spring Revolution will be fair, we're going to lose our role or our relationship with the ruling military. That's why they still walking on the fence of the ceasefire agreement or something like that. So for that reason, they never ever confess from the very beginning we were taking part in the formation of the NUG, something like that. Then they keep both of the narratives still right now. From my point of view, it's a very different way of looking at NUG, I think. From the different groups have different perspective on NUG. And for me, I even not sure about the name of the National Unity Government. And in my book, I have make quite a comprehensive section about that one, because the very first user of this term is in the 2020, just after the election result has been clear, and then he was the speaker of the president. And then he started using that, and it is why the revolution is keep inheriting this kind of the name and the idea. So there are so many things we need to count on this. Not very simple.
Yeah, I would like to add one more point based on the Thida opinion about the, so both sides, have to, both sides are difficult to confess themselves. So that's both sides. So what I want to add is, so that's the old way of thinking of the both sides. Because it's the old generation.
What do you mean with both sides?
So I'm sorry for the old generation. I'm not naming and shaming the old generation. Old generation and the young generation have something somehow different with the approach to the problem. Okay. So we even in my age group is including the old generation and between the new generation and old generation. But let's say mostly our old generation thinking. So we have a lot of pressure and in trauma because of the regime. And also influenced by the somehow ism and wrong, religious talk, and also the education, outdated education. Yeah. So somehow, so that's why we always look at that the problem is different way and very suspect that the old generation, but new generation is different. But ethnic armed groups as also the older generation is still on the top level, so they hesitate to do something, and they're thinking too much, so they approach to the target problems or different point of view or so many way, and it's very suspect ideology. So that's different, and also the NUG government and the ethnic armed groups. So the top leader thinking way of the top leader is problem. I think so. So that's I want to add. That's why they're difficult to confess. So they are what they are getting now, what they want to do.
Yeah. If you ask people in the movement what is their aim or what are they fighting for, then the slogan always is, yeah, we fight for federal democracy. So how realistic is that? How fit are these groups, these people, for federal democracy? How widespread is the knowledge about federalism, about democracy? What are your experiences? I mean, the picture you have been drawing so far is okay. Maybe there's some hope for the younger generation, but the old ones, how you see it? Is it just a slogan, or do people really understand or getting more understanding of it?
I might say getting more understanding and trying to understand more about what is federal democracy, but it's not enough. I believe, especially from the younger generation, they try to understand, but the problem is because of the very much influence from the older generation and some other toxic narratives. I think most of the toxic narratives against the federal democracy is crafted very subtly, especially by the military and related groups, because they also having the kind of the department of the brainwash department, and they are active 24/7 all the time, and they have bombarded with the not just with the posts, but also the very bad comments prepared by the officers. So they trying to make so much focusing more on the this kind of the diverse idea and freedom is not very productive for the future, something like that. But on the other hand, I think throughout these days, because of the heavy censorship, heavy propaganda, and the poor education systems, people not really can think of the federalism and democracy. So I used to say, people even trying to undermine democracy after the 2021 revolution coup, people focusing more on the federalism as they thought federalism will grant them the equality of the power, equal power, something like that. But they just say, okay, if we get the federalism in the country, the democracy will automatically come up, something like that. And I used to write and remind them, democracy is the culture, federalism is more on the structure, so we need to combine and we need to understand both. Otherwise, federalism cannot guarantee us that democracy. Look at the UAE as a federal state. There is no democracy. So we need, then a lot of our people are still learning and they're trying to understand, and I think the most learners are from the younger generation.
You mentioned the toxic narratives. Can you give an example for that?
Well, you know, on one hand is more focusing on the chauvinism, but on the other hand, the most of the narratives is more focusing on the racism, something like that. You know, that's kind of things making people more distrust each other and trying to bring all the trajectory, kind of the tragic scenario, all the past bad memories pointed out to blame the others, especially targeting the leaders of the different groups, something like that. That kind of toxic narratives is very, very popular among the people. And a lot of people, because of the so much atrocities by the military, people thought we cannot be nice against the military, then it's automatically changed. We cannot be nice to anyone else, you know, something like that. We need to be very strong, we need to be harsh, we need to criticize badly, something like that. That's kind of toxic narratives making us more losing our energy, focusing on the construction rather than the other issues. Yeah.
Okay. As a source of the toxic narratives, you have more or less identified the military. So I want to switch to the next part, the options of the military. Yeah, as I said in my introduction, the military was somehow surprised by the strong resistance and also by the effectiveness of the resistance. So the question is, what options are left for the junta? And there are different ideas. One would be kind of elections or mock elections, so elections without the National League for Democracy running. The other would be, which is sometimes reported in the media and is maybe the idea of China to replace Min Aung Hlaing, the junta boss, because he proved to be ineffective. And another one could be maybe just going back to the status quo ante. So what do you think, Kyaw, what do you think of these three options? Or maybe is there another option? How you think what will have a chance on the side of the military?
I think the election is one of the exit or solution for the military. They are thinking like that. So one of their solution to, cool down the conflict, and also one of the options.
But how to cool down the conflict?
International, will, especially China, India, and ASEAN So they will, look to the military, the change. They are looking at the military. Their opinion will change. That they think, I think, but it's impossible.
The international aspect will be the next part. So, how is the military ticking, and what you think is realistic, or what way you think they would go for?
I think it's impossible for my opinion. So the election is impossible. Even their territory is looser daily by day, and now the 2025. So in Rakhine, all Rakhine states, so they are controlled by the Arakan army.
Yes. So Rakhine is the state in the southwest, or in the center west. That's the area where also the Rohingya.
Less than 50%. Less than 50% that their territory is less than 50% now.
Yeah.
So in that less than 50%, you're thinking to make an election, but it's very difficult. Very difficult.
And I mean, so far the leadership of the military seemed to be quite solid. I mean, you have some lower ranks changing sides, but you think the military might replace Min Aung Hlaing? Other generals would go forward, or would they regard it as a lost cause and then they just go for exile or whatever?
That. I think that some, the critic, predict like that, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Min Aung Hlaing is grabbing, his position, stronger and stronger. So to even in beside him, his subordinates, all subordinate of him is he appointed by himself. So he have some experience in the past for the former dictator Ne Win. So how Ne Win, faced before the end of his life. So that he have already expected. So the military cannot collapse in top level because he know how to control them. That he somehow he tried to convince to his subordinate. So we are doing something. We are going to our own roadmap. So that means he trying to organize his military only, so not to entertain to the others. So and also at the same time the role of China is very important. As Thida mentioned, everything they are relying on China and Russia. Russia as well. So and they also Min Aung Hlaing also trying to entertain to the both countries, especially Russia and China. But on the ground, it's totally impossible.
Yeah, but you said the military will have its own roadmap, and the military had a roadmap before. You mentioned Tuan Shwe, and then they come up with a constitution, where they had a kind of guarantee of power. But in the end, the coup kind of unsettled the constitution. So they even abandoned their own roadmap. So, and that's the question, is there a chance to return to that roadmap because they realize they cannot win? Or is it now totally out of the question?
That's only he wanted to show he stays strong. I mean, just entertain his alliance countries, is Russia and China, and some countries from ASEAN. So he is still, strong leader. He can control. So that's why he has own, roadmap. That's for sure. I mean, the pretending he has to stay strong. And at the same time, he trying to, convince or trying to organize his own, his subordinate, the military. He is so strong. So I mean, its election is impossible for me.
Thida.
Yeah. I'd like to say, the military from the very beginning, even though they make this 2008 constitution as a black magic, very well crafted, but they never ever want to lose their power. They have no intention. That's why they try to make so many ways. Even for the 2015 election, they did a lot of the fraud. They tried to maneuver the votes, but with the people's decision. People voted in 2015 election not as the voters, but as the protesters. They just want to show that we really want to get rid of the military and its party from the politics. That's how they voted. That's why the military party has lost its power. They also try not to transfer the power, even in 2016. But they thought we have 2008 constitution, somehow we will be Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Border Affairs, and the Commander-in-Chief. Under him, it's all the armed forces and so many the provisions, the Supreme Judge, also the ex-military guy. So all the three pillars, the 25% seats in the legislation. So we can control everything. That's why let's test run. So that's why they transfer the power to the NLD, the winning party. But after that, what they learned is if NLD or the other party will have the power for another 5 years, they will be at the danger. Even though the constitution, 2008 constitution, is very hard to be revised or reformed or renew anything, but they still, for example, like I just want to point out one thing. As soon as NLD took the power, obviously Aung San Suu Kyi cannot be the president, but what the NLD did is using the article from the 2008 constitution, making her as the national
state consular.
State consular. Yeah. This clause was aimed for Tan Sri, former dictator, to come back to the politics, indeed. That's why they were very happy with this constitution. But now, during this 2016 to 20 period, this 5 years period, they have learned there are so many flaws to change things. You know, they're really very, very angry. That's why as soon as the coup attempt happened in 2021, they changed a lot of the other basic laws. The NLD has been reformed already. Back to for example, like the visitors to the people's house, something like that. Very simple, very effective, something like that. That's why I think the military roadmap is not to lose its power forever. And I also got some very good evidence, and I wrote that one in my book already. Once one of the big dictator in Arakan State, in Rakhine State, he just said, you need to know, even though we are running election, we won't give up our power. Election is not just for the other party to win. It's designed for us to win forever, something like that. So I think the scenario right now is obviously Myanmar has so many external and internal enemies already, but he and his gang is winning over. But the big challenge is already from the bottom. Even though he can control the top leaders of the military, since at least 15,000 soldiers and the big, a little bit high-ranking military officer has been killed, and another more than 10,000 has been becoming the prisoner of war already, including some of the big pretty high level of the military officer. So finally, military never ever wants to open its door. It's like the one small little boat on the big boat, something like that. So they always want to run as their own country inside our country, the military country and the civilians country. But right now, he established the conscription law. It means finally he gave up. He needs to open the door for its small little boat. You know, their country has been now opened to the civilians, and this effect will make him more in the very dilemma situation. I think it's not just affecting the civilians, but also the country's economy. There is no human resources to run the economy right now because all the reproductive age, very active young, they try either to join the People Defense Forces or out of the country, something like that. So that make him pretty much a dilemma. And the way he and his family, especially his sons, running the economy by their own. For example, like there is not enough electricity, but his sons has the only sole winner of the chance to run the business of the solar business or the VPN business. Everything, what he make the bad things, his sons winning this kind of the chances to run the business. So that's also making the subordinates to think, okay, why are we fighting for? Why do we need to fight for that kind of thing, something like that. So right now, the male line is in the very shaking. That's why a lot of people thought he even needs an injection, not just the tablets for the good night's sleep, something like that. So in that situation, I think the election also, like the Kyaw Ministry mentioned, the election is almost impossible because you can see the whole country, it's not under his control anymore, something like that. So it's a very shaky situation right now. That's what I just want to say.
Okay, let's shift to the international setting because it was quite astonishing that for a long time Min Aung Hlaing has not been to China. He was not invited, and it was only, I think, a few months ago that for the first time after the coup, China invited him. And it was obvious he is not that liked there very much. And therefore now we want to talk about the elephant in the room. So Kyaw Ministry, what is your take on China's role in Myanmar?
Whether we like China or not, so we can change our neighbor. You know, that's everybody say like that. China always think their interests first. That makes sense for everyone, every country are thinking their interests. So, but the problem is our neighbor country, the giant country, the economically control every parts of the neighborhood,
Yeah, but what is China's interest in Myanmar?
First, the geographically, they are very inland states in Yunnan and Sichuan. Somehow, they are the inland states is the only way to go to the sea, the ocean is through the Rakhine states, Rakhine coastal region. And they have a big pipeline project, so GAPS pipeline projects, Rakhine region and Kunming, Yunnan.
The interest of China is to get an access to the Indian Ocean
that's
through the back door, something
like
that.
One of the investment. So pipelines, big pipeline projects. Mm-hmm. So the wire and gas are how importance for the industrialized country like China. So in the past, their buying the oil and gas from the Middle East from different way. So it's a long way to the, to get it's extra cost. So the way, the shortest way to get to the oil and gas and from these roads. So that's the one reason, and also some of the investment projects inside the country, and some deep sea projects. So, and not only business, it's to make balance to India. So they are, like a military power. So potentially some islands of the Rakhine state in the past, they will invest, they will build some, navy base.
Yeah, the Cocos Island.
Yeah, that's their interest. And also they wanna influence to the Myanmar government, because in the past, Myanmar is, in the middle way of the Western community and the China, and China is trying to pull to get, and also the Western community, democratic, society also pulling. So between the Myanmar, my country is between the both sides. So China don't want to see the neighbor countries to democratic country, because that may be affected into China. Some states, even the Yunnan states, they are all ethnics in the past. They are own territory and own independent in the past. So they have some national movement inside the China. So that may be related. They don't want to see some connection inside the Myanmar to China. So that's their concern, and also they want to Myanmar, they are subordinate countries. So like a big brother, they are looking at our country as I am big brother of you guys. So you have to, that's also to make balance to the Western community, especially US.
Okay, but what does it now mean for the conflict in Myanmar? Yeah,
that's why they are supporting some ethnic groups. They are based in Chinese-Myanmar border. You clearly see the last 3 alliance ethnic armed groups. Yeah. So they were influenced by the Chinese government. So if China make warning them, you guys stop there, so they stop. You guys stop to talk to the military mail line, so they follow the whatever Chinese government say. So that Chinese make the divide and rule policy. Let's say one hand water, one hand fire. So they always use like that. If they don't like mail line, they will make the Chinese will push through the 3 alliance. But the biggest army is still behind the 3 alliance. The Wa army, Wa ethnic is the biggest. So the biggest, the ethnic armed groups in my country. So
maybe I have to give some background. So we are talking about the 3 Brotherhood Alliance. They launched the offensive 10/27. So in 2023, end of October, they launched in the northeastern Shan state. They launched an offensive, and that was extremely successful. And it was launched after somehow China gave some hidden hints that they are very, that they don't like this cyber scam operations in the border areas, this illegal gambling, which where mostly Chinese citizens are the victims. Also, some Chinese mafia people are behind it, but nevertheless, probably China tried to pressure the Myanmar junta to go against these cyber scams, and the junta is somehow entangled with it, or in the local, the local power brokers, which are people of the junta or close to the junta were active there. So China gave a hint to these three armed groups that China would not intervene against them. And ethnically, on both sides of the border, the people are of more or less Chinese ethnicity. So the Three Brotherhood Alliance was very successful, managed to drive out the military from some areas there. The Three Brotherhood Alliance took over border stations. And it's now that the military junta makes some some big shows to arrest some cyber scam people. But and on the other hand, recently China made pressure on the Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army, which is one of these three groups, to make a ceasefire with the junta. So as you said, when China makes pressure, they somehow have to act. So you now have the first ceasefire by an ethnic armed group with the junta. And the irony is this ceasefire was negotiated in Kunming, so in China, and you have hardly learned what is the agreement. So it is totally intransparent. And then you mentioned, for those who don't know, you mentioned the War State Army. That's a kind of, that's I think the best equipped army, ethnic armed forces inside Myanmar. They control their own area for, 30, 40 years already. They are very well equipped, and I would say it's a kind of mafia state within Myanmar, run by an ethnic group on their own, and they don't fight the junta at the moment, and they have more or less an agreement with the junta and also with the government before that they can do whatever they like in their own area because they are so well armed that nobody dares to attack them.
China also want to see the Myanmar stability. So whoever control the power, they want to see the stability of the country. So, and also they want to talk to only one person who can, decide, who can make decision. So the Mayor Online side is so clear. He need to deal with the Mayor Online only. Mayor Online decides everything. But the other sides, our revolution sides, is difficult to deal with the only one, common, government like the NUG. But that's we face a problem. So China, according to our source, China make, let's say here they listen both sides. So they invited the ethnic armed groups representatives to the Chiang Mai. And also they talked, they listened what they need, the ethnic armed groups, what they need. The Chinese government listened. Then they also met with the Mayor Online and military groups. So after that, so they decided to support the Mayor Online for the time being. But Chinese government is like the biggest gambler. So he don't want to lose. That's why he will support both sides. How we have to look how the NUG have the smart approach to how they can approach to the China. So they have to deal with China at the same time. They don't blame China. They don't need to blame China. They have to deal with China as whether they like China, they like them or not. So that's we want to see the qualification or skill or smart approach of the NUG government. But I think they have, but the most problem is to tell the scenario or to analyze the current situation. We need comprehensive information. So that we have limited information to analyze. This is difficult for us.
I mean, I have the impression that there are no contacts between the NUG and China, or at least the official one.
Yeah.
Thida, you may add. Yes, please, go ahead.
Let me go back to the history a little bit, because then we can see more. Throughout the history, China Communist Party and Burmese Communist Party, it's very long-term relationship. So throughout the history, the consecutive Chinese government and the Communist Party has more sympathy on the opposition, because the PCP is the main opposition to the socialist government. So that's mean not socialist government, indeed military government. You know, we do have a consecutive military government under the name of Socialist Program Party or all the way. So for that reason, how the Burmese Communist Party has been dismantled, or the end of the BCP, is also because of the ethnic divides. It's mainly by Wa and Koka, that group becoming the new ethnic armed forces. So that's how the military, especially military intelligence during the Deng Xue's era, the famous Kyaw and his people trying to do this kind of the pretty much distrust each other among the ethnic groups, and then it was very much effective. So for that reason, the whole Burmese politics has been understood very well by the consecutive Chinese administration. For that reason, China can influence more. But to be fair, I might say that because of the past, China also not much in favor of the military governments. Especially, you can see after the 1990 election, after the NLD won the election, the first ambassador to meet went to the NLD headquarters is the Chinese ambassador, something like that, you know. So for that reason, I think I might say throughout the NLD administration, the relationship between NLD and China also pretty okay, even to change the structure and the contents of the treaties for the Myitsone Dam, something like that. That's happened during the NLD administration. So after the coup, China was pretty much unhappy also, because the most of the projects ahead has been well agreed with the NLD, and NLD won another term, and China was pretty happy, something like that.
Maybe I have to explain briefly. So the Myitsone Dam is in the Kachin state in the north. There's resistance against the dam, and then the Thein government finally more or less gave in, and they put the project on hold. Then Aung San Suu Kyi was elected into parliament, and was the head of a commission to have a closer look at the project. And strangely, Aung San Suu Kyi was in favor of the dam, and the dam is supposed to produce energy for China and financed with Chinese money. So it's a Chinese project. And it was, in those days, the military government in Myanmar suspending the project, and Aung San Suu Kyi being in favor of the project. And then when Aung San Suu Kyi was de facto head of state, her first foreign trip was to Beijing.
Yeah, the whole treaty has been changed a lot, and more benefit for the Burmese people. That has been agreed by the China already. And on top of that, these three brotherhoods, ethnic groups, they have been sidelined and undermined by the quasi-civilian government, the Thein government, not by the NLD government, Thein government, because so during that time, during that time, the peace, the agreement, the ceasefire agreement has been established, and military never recognized the three brotherhoods. So on top of that, throughout the history, especially after the 1993, the economic sanctions from the US and the Western democratic war, making China have more space. Even though they don't like the military, they just think they can exploit military government easily because military government has no alliance at all. They are the only exit way. You know, at that time, the military never ever very close to the Russia. So it's not just the G2G relationship, but also either B2B or the P2P, business to business or people to people. A lot of the China business and the people, especially the United States, had so much relationship with the Burmese because of the sanctions, I might say. They can successfully invade us, not just China, but also Singapore and others. They enjoy this economic sanctions from the Western world. Even after lifting the sanctions, the in-depth relationship still remains. For that reason, I think the relationship with the China and these three brotherhood groups, like they are very small, but they are sort of the very, I might say, aiming for more on their own kind of the freedom, and their imagination is more on their own state, something like that. So that has been very well recognized. And then the China has become the reliable outlet for them too, you know. To, for example, like the 2 out of 3 brotherhood, their area is next to China. That's why they even use yuan. They have been using yuan as a currency for ages already, something like that. So the relationship with China and these two groups is very strong. Mostly these two groups are quite small. They need to rely not just the currency, but also some kind of the economy because of the border area. They need to listen to China whatsoever, something like that. That's why even the Mail Online thought, without the green light from China, these three brotherhoods might not fight that much fiercely to them. So there was somehow good and bad relationship with Mail Online and China has been even after 2023. But finally, I think as Co Ministry mentioned, China has been reached out to NUG, reached out to every single group on the ground and sounding, and then that's my just thinking, you know, China found it out, oh, there are so many different people, so many different dreams, so many different narratives. Let's start with Mail Online. Whatever, he's not our favorite one, but he still can make practice the change of command easily. Something like that. That's the current situation, what I understand.
Okay, I fear we share a bit the confusion of China here. It gets very into the nitty-gritties, and I think it's important to understand it, but it is really getting complicated, and we have the problem we are running out of time. So we have about 15 minutes left. I still want to give you the chance for questions. And so we have to cut it short now. We cannot talk about the role of Russia and the role of the West, or the non-role of the West. We jump to the last point now, which will be the scenarios, and I reduce it to one question, which of course is a guessing game. When will the junta fall? Sorry, fail and fall is probably identical. What do you think? What is your scenario?
Honestly, I want to know.
Yeah, we all want to know, I think.
As I mentioned before, analysis or prediction for the future scenario or current situation based on the confidence, enough information. So we have limited information. That's why maybe my, prediction or analyze and an analytical view is maybe wrong. I think May Online have not many options to choose. The China and Russia will not be able to help May Online anymore in the future, because May Online losing day by day. They realize it. They know, everybody know, That's why the May Online have a few options to choose. So one is they have to talk with the revolution group. They need to talk, to compromise, And another option is some of he will be replaced. He will be replaced. Another option, but by the under control of China or no, I don't exactly know. But the May Online is not only leading himself. I think he has somehow to protect the whole economy of the military and top leader businesses. So the 80% of the whole business are controlled by military and their relatives and the cronies related with them. So he is somehow the hero, or he has a duty and responsibility to protect their benefits or wealth. So that's why the whole group were looking at him. So they are the May Online is protecting them or try to destroy them. So that the one of the options, the behind the group will be replace him with some way, that some shifts junior will be replace him or something like that. And another option is his all troops army will change their target group, and also they change their mind and they turn their gun to their military again. The lower level. I not mean the high level, because high level is die with their benefits, their own benefits. They have so well, they are now wealthy people. That's why they never do like the high level. So some junior level, so they will attack back. So that's another option to collapse to the May Online. So another last one is who will escape to the China or Brunei or Russia or somehow. But I think Russia and China will be welcome him. So he will choose to some of the Middle East country maybe. This is an option. Another one is he will grip some parts of the big cities. So it's I think possibility the future, the near future, not for long term. So he will grip and with his royalty troops. So that the revolution group also will control the other parts of the country. He will control as much as he can. That's also the possibility in the future.
Okay, Thida, last question and short answer. Recently, 2 Western scholars have warned to see the progress of the resistance as a sign for a quick victory. So they said, oh, that will still last for some time. So will Myanmar then become a failed state?
Well, it's partly fair already, but there are some things we need to think. Because of this conscription law, our economy has shaped. It's more than we expected. So the after effect will be seen very quickly. There is, because of the very severe civil war, the productions, the agriculture production has pretty much in danger already, so we can expect the famine and the recessions, both famine and recession. You can see how people will be affected. Right now, the target of the People Defense Forces, the resistance forces and the other ethnic forces is also to the weaponry factories of the military, including some of the aviation base. So the only winning secret of the military right now is through the area strikes. So now they are winning things has been pretty much well targeted by the defense force, People Defense Forces. For that reason, it's according to the data you see in the web or something like that, you can say it would take so much time. But for me, I think it can turn out to be very quickly if some things, it's like the domino effect. So many things is heading towards the dawn of this military dictator right now. So it can be also pretty quick if the international community help more on that kind of the small little thing, the fuel, the aviation fuel sanction and some other things. That will be very effective, and some supports like some sophisticated drones supported by Russia and China. If that can be prevented a bit, that will also be effective. So, yeah.
Okay, I think we have about 10 minutes left. Not much, I'm sorry for that. Not more, I mean. Other questions, comments? As you know, it's very complex, it's very complicated, it's a bit confusing, and yeah, but I would say that's Myanmar. So, yeah, go ahead. You have a question, and as I know you from other events, please keep it short, yes?
In Deutsch?
No, no, sorry, we have 10 minutes. If we start translate... No, the whole event is in English. I'm sorry, we don't have the time for translation. Sorry, we would, Leo? Sorry, usually that's possible, but no, the other, Leo, right. Please.
Maybe you have time after the event. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I imagine that based from what I know from other violent conflicts, even if there is a opposition movement that has democratic ideals, through the act of violent fighting, often ideals get lost. And in the end, you know, those who are the most cruel and the most violent will win. And it's very hard actually to preserve ideals in a violent revolutionary fight. How do you see how this process is going in Myanmar with all the groups involved?
Sure. Whatever the armed conflict, armed tension in any context, any country, that kind of things we can expect. So from my eyes, it's a lot of people trying to point it out. This potential is dangerous. So still pretty much more not accepting by the majority of people. Whatever this kind of the violent decision, violent act, it has been pretty much harshly criticized and combated. That's also going on. But to be frank, we all are having a similar fear and concerns to make the revolutions stop as quickly as possible because of this kind of potential. After a long term, the people love to have used the arms to things done, something like that. That's the potential. But right now, I might see the counterbalance for this kind of the idea and the narratives is pretty strong also.
Okay, Chalinee.
Thank you very much for this. Two very quick questions. One, we talked about China, but last time it was the other ASEAN countries that were pushing for change. Is that going to happen again? And second question, how's daily life for people?
Right now in 25, Malaysia took the presidency of ASEAN, and the very first time, very practical concept Malaysia has been declared. Let's not talk about elections yet. Make the stability on the ground first, something like that. So that's a very practical approach compared to the other, the Laos, we don't. And even with the Indonesia direction is more on the election. Right now, Malaysia is more practical. So because it's, your second question, so the daily life, it's very miserable, majority of the country. But if we just focus on the Yangon and Mandalay, it sounds like fabulous still.
Let me add the question. The ASEAN, how about ASEAN? ASEAN itself, the conflict each other, you know. So different types of the political system. Some of the countries are authoritarian and one-party rule countries, like Cambodia, Laos, Brunei, you know. And some of that, they are always confrontation about, you know, Myanmar issue. So agree or disagree. So ASEAN is, I think, not workable organization for less current the Myanmar issue. But the one of the strongest voice to, you know, sympathize to the revolution groups and people and democracy. The Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Singapore. The other countries are silent, and other parts of countries are alliance with the China, and except Brunei and Vietnam. Vietnam is silent. So the Cambodia, Laos are you know, influenced by Chinese government. So that is it's hard to say they can help the country. But recently the Malaysia announced that not only the election is they don't, you know, recognize it to make a relation, and also they are not allowed to attend to the ASEAN meeting as well. So they announced it like that. But China, the daily life of people, I can't imagine how they are living inside the country. Even in Yangon, it's electricity shortage, 4 hours per day. So how they can survive? So I can't imagine even, you know, so even Yangonian and Mandalay cities and big cities, you know, so only Naypyidaw is 24 hours electricity. So other parts of the country is very shortage of electricity. Electricity, how important, you know, electricity. So that is, and the first question I want to add about the crackdown and the torture and something. So so I want to, you know, appreciate in the revolution. What I want to appreciate is young generation. So always, young generation always, you know, fights against in the frontier, at the frontier, at the front of the people. They sacrifice their life, and the, you know, People's Defense Army, they are leading and you know, in the battlefields. And in 1988 also, young students lead the you know, 1988 uprising. So that's, so the generation and history, you can look back at how the young people are sacrificed for the country, for the nation. So the revolution also, the role of the young people is very important. So I respect a lot. Even the military crackdown, bloody torture, arrest. So I met a lot of young people in the prison. They never, you know, say surrender. They were released after that. They will do something underground, or they will link with the huge underground people, and they were support for the revolution. So that's how I impress for the young people. So that's why I'm also trust the young people who can get the leading role and decision-making role. The country, the scenario will change. I believe it. Currently, the old generation is blocked because the old generation are approaching the problems. It's difficult to solve the problem. So I think this is the optimist for the future scenario. If the young people getting the decision-making role and leadership role, they will, lead to the prosperous future. But this is my dream or, my expectation. The different types of different ethnic groups, so they have own scenario, their own, ambitions. But that problem also, that the young people can discuss each other. I think so, because it's different with us. They are different.
Okay, I think that was an optimistic and positive note for the end. I think that fits well. The time is up. I want to make a few announcements. At the corner, you still find a few of today's issue of taz. We have a longer article on the military situation inside the country in Myanmar. And then also at the table there's a list of those who want to register to get regular invitations to my Asiatalk. And then I want to ask the technician to make an announcement for the demo tomorrow in front of the embassy. I have to admit, I have another appointment. I cannot show up there. But it's Pacheli Ale is the embassy. Bring pots and pans and make noise. And that's tomorrow afternoon. Yes, and then I want to thank Thida. I want to thank Kyaw. I want to thank you for coming and those watching online. And you will see where you get other infos on Asia. On my Facebook page, I post all Asia reporting of taz, so you can find it there. I mean, not only political stuff, but also economics or culture. And then all the Asia talks and the former Asia talks you can find on the playlist. And here you find the announcement of the next taz talks taking place here in the canteen. So thank you very much, and hope to see you next time.